All right, I have 7 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and call the February 12th Planning Commission meeting to order. And first off, we'll have a roll call. Pat?
Paul Kretzinger,
Here.
Jeff Goodall,
Here.
Joe Healy,
Yes.
Rich Becker, Dan Klemish,
Here.
Greg Cumming,
Here.
Dave Williams,
Here.
Dan Guffmiller, Michael Webb.
Yes.
Quorum present.
So, in our elements of transparency, I asked Pat to get with the county attorney because there were some things from the last, like November, December, that I know they never got wrapped up. So, to do an agenda adjustment, county attorney's here, and there was some things, there was a couple, I don't remember exactly how many, but I believe there was at least 2 things that have been discussed between October, November, December. And so I asked Pat to coordinate with the county attorney, and then we could get caught up on the issues that were outstanding as we transition into the new county commission. And I don't think they'd actually got closed out, but if they had been, if you could catch us up where they're at.
And two, I'll probably ask my understanding, well,
So probably what I would ask is, you want to ask me questions on what your concerns were?
There was 2 or 3 incidents that we had, that there were issues that were forwarded for, I think, for review, and I don't know if we ever got what we did with the outcome.
So I'm,
You know the names of the ones I called about. The one
Well-
was by Gayville, and then, I don't remember, there was a couple of them, but
so for, and I don't know if you want me to use names, or you want me to just reference it generally where things are proceeding?
I think
or
we
how?
should use names.
I think we
I
should use
mean, they've
names.
been
Okay.
on the docket before.
Right.
So then the Tao Ryland question, and that has to do with some issues regarding if there needs to be a variance or a conditional use regarding, I believe, 2 residents and possibly a setback issue. Is that be one of them you're referencing?
Yes.
There would be currently a meeting scheduled to kind of see how the parties want to proceed, and so we have that currently scheduled to determine where we're going to go and whether we need to file action. Typically, what we do is we try to see if the other party is amenable to listening to us and make a determination on how to proceed. So that's proceeding. In my opinion, we have issues we need to address, and then when we meet with the other side, we'll see where they are in that position. So,
Okay.
So there was a
And-
septic system issue on that property also, right?
yep,
And you sent me an email this morning that said that that had been resolved.
yep, that was in reference to that.
So how has that been resolved?
My understanding, there is no issue right now with the septic system. I'll defer that to Pat, but I'm not aware of there being a septic system issue, and then I'm not aware of there being any sewage dumping in a river or any of those things that you allege in that email. So Eric, I'm not aware of that.
So there was, in November, December, we looked at photos where there was a drain field line that was going into the Missouri River on that property. Have you gotten documentation or verification that that's been corrected?
Directly to that question, I have talked to DNR and Pier,
Okay.
and they have said that they would be willing to bring over the individual that represents DNR from Vermillion, Mr. Christensen, and he will go with me, and we would walk over the property to verify that there is no surfacing, or if there is surfacing, that we would remedy the issue.
Okay, so
And then
that
they would sign off on that septic system setup after their inspection.
So what we looked at for photos, though, that was the Missouri River,
Yes.
and that was a drain field line.
Yes.
That was fully exposed to that Missouri River.
And we have never seen that. We have not, I haven't been able to personally go on that property and verify that, so.
You haven't
when
been
I-
allowed to go on that property.
Correct.
Okay, so we voted in December to proceed with legal counsel on this.
Yes.
So we're 2 months later now,
Yes,
and we don't have any resolution to that at this point.
and we do not.
Okay,
And that's the Phil Tao case and regarding the yard setback for the structure that was built in 2016.
okay.
And then as we went to the hearings, we discovered that we had the accessories or the other residents on the property,
Yep.
which then brings up the septic issues. And in visiting with Scott Hippel at DNR, he is more than willing to coordinate with me to have Mr. Christensen come over with me and view that property.
Are there any timeframes that have been set and established that we're going to get this addressed by?
I have not been able to make any timeframes or establish anything because I have not been informed as to just where we're going with this.
Okay, so Rob, today you had said that there was a resolution to it. I think you said,
Yeah, my understanding, Pat, I thought you walked that field. You've never been on that field? You've never been on that septic system field? No. Okay.
so what was
That'd be the
what was
first
resolution you were-
time.
What's that?
I'm sorry, when you're talking
So
a
what was the
resolution?
resolution that you referred to today?
Oh, I'm sorry, Eric. You're losing me, and kind of like in your
Okay,
email
so-
flow, you kind of lose me on that too,
Okay,
Eric.
so when I
But
sent you an email.
yeah, I can read them if you would like,
Yep.
and we can go through this confusing emails.
And I've got them too, but
Yeah.
you said it has been addressed and taken care of. That the Tower Ryland issue had been addressed and taken care of regarding the septic system.
My understanding is it was taken care of. It's my understanding that's not something that I'm dealing with at this time. We're having a meeting scheduled to decide what's the procedure and how it's going to go. And a new commission came in on
Right.
January 1st, okay? And then, so what I typically do is I'll address it with the commission, which I did, I believe, the last commission meeting, and it was discussed how to proceed. So the county commission, who's in charge of how we're going to handle things, decided on how we're going to proceed. And that's how we're proceeding.
Okay. And the
So-
county commission back in December, when we took the vote, that just got ignored until January? Or what happened between December and January? Because I know the planning and zoning board voted on it. I know the county commission voted on it in December.
Voted on, I'm sorry, voted on what?
On proceeding with legal action.
The county commission voted on proceeding with the Ryland Tau matter?
I was here with the planning and zoning. I remember.
I'm asking, I said the county commission,
My understanding that they did, yes.
Okay, and we are proceeding with it. We are proceeding with it, Eric.
When is this meeting, Rob?
The meeting is tomorrow.
When did the meeting get set?
Meeting just got set.
Today?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And where's that gonna be held?
At my office.
I'll go on public, make a statement. I have a bad feeling that at some point there's going to be photos in a newspaper somewhere asking why the Yankton County Planning and Zoning never addressed this issue. And I am not happy about that. I think it needs to be addressed, and it needed to be addressed back in December.
Okay.
So,
Eric, any issues regarding the septic system? I didn't know there was any issues regarding that, okay? I will read your emails that you sent me. You sent me an email regarding, this is on 1/17. Hey, Rob, just wanted to touch base with you. I'm on the Yankton County Planning and Zoning Committee. It looks like we're going to need updates at our meeting going forward regarding the septic system issue south of Gayville that is draining directly into Missouri River. I think that everyone is in the opinion that we don't want to be in the front page of the newspaper someday. Anyway, if you could attend the meeting on the first of Tuesday in the month, it would be appreciated until this issue is fully resolved. Eric, which I responded to you, and I said, would there be time for us to meet and discuss? Are you available on Monday? I will be out the rest of the week visiting my parents. Let me know. Thanks, Rob Clemish. You respond, I am in the meeting in Sioux Falls all day Monday. When you come back from your parents, we'll be knocking on the door of the P&Z meeting anyway. Let's just plan on the update there. I respond, I am not sure what update I am providing to the Planning Commission, Rob. And then,
And that's kind of
and
where we're
I
at.
called you, Eric, to come visit you to see what you're addressing. I didn't
this
know
is
what
an
you were,
issue.
I'm talking. I didn't know what you were addressing at the time. I had no idea. I tried to come to your office and address whatever issue you were having. I didn't know what the issue was. I didn't know. I asked you the issue.
this is an issue for planning and zoning, though, and we.
It isn't an
all-
issue. It isn't an issue. I
It
didn't
is.
know. I wasn't at the planning commission meeting. I didn't know that's what was addressed.
Right, but one of the
Okay.
things I just wanted to catch everybody up, because I remembered that we still had them out there, but we can go back. There's obviously a recording or whatever, from October, November, I think it was November, but I don't exactly remember. But then my thing in getting this all initiated was to, refresh kind of where did it go. We're transitioning a new county commission, so I think, you know, it's not like an emergency, but we need to make sure we look at it and continue resolution. I think that's the important part of that.
Yeah, I would agree. My answer to the question is we're pursuing it and we're determining how to go. The county commission was addressed on how they wanted to pursue it, and that's how we're proceeding, and that's how it's been addressed.
Rob, who's all gonna be at this meeting tomorrow? Who will all be at this meeting tomorrow?
Yeah, Jeff, it's the people that are going to be at the meeting to address how to proceed.
So you're talking about the county commissioners?
We're going to be addressing the meeting. We're having a meeting coming up tomorrow to address on how to proceed. So whether it has
So
anything to do with
should
the
there
planning
be a-
commission.
Should there be a posting of that, Pat, with a 10-day period?
For,
I don't know what the meeting is. I guess I have to say I don't know. This was something that has been settled outside my office and outside my realm.
Okay.
You won't be involved in it, Pat?
I've not been invited.
Oh, so
Shouldn't you have?
all the commissioners will be there?
Who's been invited?
I don't know.
Who's been invited?
Eric, a meeting has been set up through the county commission, and we're going to be addressing that tomorrow. That's what we're doing.
In the determination to get transparency, I would like to think that this would be something that would be a public record on who's going to be involved in this meeting, because it's an issue that needs to be addressed. It could have a huge impact on our county. It could have a huge impact on our planning and zoning and our commission regarding how we're addressing issues. And the transparency, you know, I get to hear a lot about transparency, and I'm just thinking this is the prime opportunity to be transparent and say who's going to be involved in the meeting, so we know what happened in the outcome. It should be probably a public
And
forum.
if you want to, and it's litigation, so the answer is it's not a public forum. And the other thing too, Eric, if you would like, next month, I will gladly address the planning commission next month, and I can bring forth.
What time is this meeting tomorrow, Rob?
It's tomorrow, we're having a meeting.
What time?
We're having a meeting tomorrow, Jeff.
Before you go any further, Pat, don't you think you should have an opportunity, because that issue's gonna be discussed, the waste into the Missouri River, you and the gentleman from Vermillion to go out and walk that land and see what the situation is? Because right now, you don't know.
Carl, who's going to walk the land? I mean, Pat's not invited to the meeting tomorrow either.
Well, this is prep to the,
Well, one of the things I have a concern about is this was initiated in the planning commission on a public record, whenever it was, I think it was November. So that's why I'm the one that kind of brought this thing forward, is we're transitioning from one county commission to the next county commission, and not to leave a flag flapping in the breeze. And there's no side in this, but it's like, okay, so when we're gonna do this, and some of the things that have happened over the last couple of years, I've always tried to be consistent, and that's what I'm asking that we do now, is that we're doing a consistency. So I guess when I looked at this, it was an issue that had started, it was actually addressed here in the planning commission, then it kind of just went because everything else was happening. So I do think we need to have the outcome at least brought back to the planning commission. And then the other part, I guess, I have a question, is if all the planning commission or the county commission meeting is gonna be there, I don't remember seeing, and I read the P&D every day, I don't remember seeing that there's a scheduled thing of a potential quorum. And I don't know how that exactly works, but I know that I've seen it, like there was some meeting in Sioux Falls or somewhere last week that people were gonna be there and it could be potential. So I think that we need to, and you're obviously the guy that tells us the right answers, where we're at on that. So that was just, one of the things that I knew that flag was flying out there, and I didn't know where it was moved or if it got closed off or it was, just forgotten. I didn't want it to get forgotten. So I think that you guys need to figure out, like, if it's public, if it's related to the county commission and it's a possible quorum, then, again, Mr. Clemens, you know the deal
No,
there.
and
so
Mr. Welch, just
I
so you know,
don't, you know, so.
we're in compliance with notice requirements,
Then-
and all that stuff is properly done.
Then,
There's,
if, like Eric has asked, like, the next meeting is March, you know, we can see, I mean, nothing and everything is, you know, you gotta let some of the stuff cook in the stew to figure out where it goes. I mean, I know that. So, you know, if you could kind of tell us the direction where it headed, or if it was resolved or whatever, you know, in March, that would, I think that would meet the public part of everything. And then there was, two other issues that we had kind of flags that were, there was an event that started, and I don't think we ever got where there's a resolution on them.
the McAllisters?
Yes.
I would guess, yep, that's pending. Depositions are going to be scheduled, discovery's going.
So that's the case in litigation right now?
Case in litigation right now.
I wasn't here for the last few months.
I don't have my note, but I think the other one started with a G.
The only thing would be Gooble's.
Yes.
And that's one where he failed to pay the $100
Yeah.
$100 penalty thing, and that's proceeding too.
That was, those were the ones that I remembered. And said, you know what? There was just so much that was transpiring since Christmas, like, okay, I didn't remember it, and I knew I was at all the meetings, so I just wanted to kind of get that out there and make sure that we're, you know, that we hadn't forgotten, that, or it got like swept under the rug or whatever else.
Yeah, no, nothing swept under the rug. Everything's proceeding and being taken care of.
Good to go. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Do you think there'll be a decision, Rob, tomorrow? At this meeting?
Jeff, I don't know. I don't know. There will be a decision one way or another. There will be a decision, I would agree. My answer is I don't know. The answer is yes, there will be a decision.
I don't see how you can make a decision without first having the walkover. So that's got to get scheduled. Then he's got something to decide, you know, that's evidence. Then you can make a decision on it.
And I probably disagree with you there. The answer is there going to be cooperation, and which direction do we go? And that's a decision that will be made.
Yeah,
Is
the
there
DNR
litigation or no litigation? There's a decision you're going to be making. We'll see where this goes. That's where the question's going to be. So that's not a true statement, so.
Well, I think we've also asked the DNR to be partners to look at it and provide information. So we'll look forward to seeing if we got any, check the box in the March meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, back to our regular agenda tonight. So, we have the, minutes from the past, January 15th meeting. If there's any, notes or corrections, or a motion to approve as
I make a
submitted.
motion to approve the minutes of the January 15th meeting.
Second?
Second.
And then, actually, I did it backwards, so, the approve the agenda for, tonight. Oh, any discussion on the, minutes from, January 15th? No discussion? Well, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain. I
Min-
wasn't here.
All right, and minutes are approved as submitted. The agenda for tonight, we need a motion to accept the agenda as it's submitted.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the agenda as submitted? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the first item, which is at 7:05, is subdivision consideration. Mr. Oliver, preliminary plat lots 5-17, block 3, law overlook subdivision northeast 1/4, section 18, township 93 north, range 56 west, hereinafter referred to as Utica South Township, county of Yankton, state of South Dakota. The 911 address is to be announced, Welcome Drive, Yankton, South Dakota. So, Mr. Curtis, if you want to tell us about your project about the subdivision, I think it's a continuation kind of where we've been in the past.
Yeah, it's pretty much Kurt Oliver, Yankton, South Dakota. It's pretty much a continuation of what we've had. I know we've got a few new members here, but it's quite an extensive project. I think everything's been approved. The only thing we went through the planning and zoning, everything got approved, and we went to the county commission, and we was missing one member, so we got voted 4-0, or 4-1, 3-1, excuse me, and we had to have a one to pass one of the variances.
Is it my understanding this was approved though? The preliminary plat was approved?
As I was going through the records, we approved the sketch plan that was in the earlier preliminary part of all of this, but I did not actually get this final preliminary plat that's in your packet today approved. And so then that's what I want to get approved now, because then that would go to the county commission next week. And then we have this approved officially. We did approve the sketch plan earlier in the process. But now I want to get this approved here so that this is on the record that as a completed project.
Didn't we, when we did it the first time in the sketch part, if I remember, one of the things we wanted to identify, like utility, I think you were gonna talk to BY Water, and that was gonna be,
And remember, then we came back in and we did all that in December. And because we did the water plan and we did the
Right.
septic plan and we did all those things there, yes. And then when we were doing all of that, I did have the preliminary plat, but I didn't have it on the agenda to get it approved like I do tonight.
that's right.
So you actually have the final preliminary plat in front of you. I can certainly bring up all the other things, but we did go through all of those earlier regarding that facility. And so again, the big thing about preliminary plats is that, one, this has to stay this way as the applicant moves through. When they
Right.
do their lots, they have to do it exactly like the preliminary plat shows. And with this project, we were very concerned about lot 16 and lot 17, because that's where the campground would be, or the park. And we wanted that to be a single ownership, because then we could enforce our HOA rules.
Right.
Or enforce the HOA rules on there. So at current process, you're actually looking at, and you're going through, as we're saying here, for recommendation. And then we're under now what's considered to be in the 402. Is that right about, Joe? You got that in front of you there? Is it 402 that we're recommending under the subdivision right now, which is approving the preliminary plat?
Yes. To catch people up in the audience, this is out west of the dam on north side of the road, just kind of east of Cottonwood Corral. It'll be
Right here.
yeah, west of Cottonwood Corral, but it'll be Mr. Curtis will own the land and then sell off little. Yes, and they'll sell off, like mini homes out there for, people. So anyway, that catches you up. Is there any, further discussion on the, well, so what we need then is we need a motion to accept the plat as is previously submitted and now as, in the formality of it.
Do we need to have comment from the?
Yes. Mr. Kurtz, if you want to sit down a second. If there's anyone in the audience that, I apologize, I got out of sync. My day started pretty early today. If there's anyone that wants to speak in favor of this project? Is there anyone that would speak in opposition to this project? Yes, sir, if you come up and state your name, address, and your proximity to the project.
Okay. My name is Bill McMenamy. I'm the owner of Hilltop Storage. It's a commercial venture. I believe that in this variance, this man is asking to put in a 15,000 square foot storage building. At the present time, there are 14 storage businesses that are in business in the lakeside area, in addition to this. I can enumerate them and name them for you if you'd like, at least 14 of them. The zoning, and I think it's section 705, says that it shall be 1,200 square feet. He's asking for a variance to go to 15,000 square feet. While my storage facility is not the biggest one in the area, it is also not the smallest, but it will give you an idea. My storage facility is 15,900 square feet. It's on 4 acres. So basically what he's doing is he's putting up storage, and he claims he's putting it up for 60 renters. Guys, it's not congruous. As far as I'm concerned, according to number 705 and 707 of the zoning laws, he's out of compliance. Section 1907, it says variances. Board of Adjustment shall have the power to hear requests for variances from the ordinance in instances where strict enforcement would cause unnecessary hardship. What would be the hardship? There's already 14 storage facilities in business. What those people did is they got their land zoned commercial. They're doing business as commercial businesses. Why should we have another storage facility put on moderate density residential ground? You can read the ordinance. Like I said, if you review section 1907, you review section 705, and review section 707, there is no reason to have that there. Any questions?
So one thing is you rent out individual storage units, right?
That is correct.
So it's my understanding, and I might be wrong, that these are gonna be, each one of these houses is gonna get so many, whatever, square feet or whatever, that they can store their boat or their, whatever, toy, street rod, whatever, in it. So it was my understanding that this basically comes in support of these individual units that don't have, I think there's 2 parking spots associated with each mini unit, if I remember right.
I do not know what his business is. I do know that, like I said, there are Premier Ventures, Yankton Boat and RV Storage, Gavin's Point Storage, B&B Storage, MC Storage, Tom's Electric Storage, James Henderson Boat Storage, Affordable Self-Storage, Meat Lodge Storage, Pump and Stuff Storage, Quarry Storage, Dam Fireworks Storage, Hilltop Storage, McCoy Construction Storage. How many more do you need? All of that's within 3 miles of his place. All I'm asking for is a level playing field. He's not zoned commercial. He's not in business.
But these are to be used by the internal residents of his
Development.
development. That's, it's almost like a big garage, or I think what I remember, you said that they were gonna each be able to have 2, like a jet ski or a boat or something in each one of those units. So would it be better for them to drag all that stuff down to rent one of yours? Is all those 14, are they all at capacity, or are you?
No, they're not all at capacity. I can say that because mine isn't. So I have a sketch of this property here. I've got a sketch of where the building is going to go. And like I said, if you think about it, there's already an existing structure there that's, I think it's 90 by 70. Pretty close somewhere in there at 6,300 square feet. They plan on adding on to that, which will make that building 22,500 square feet. Do you think that it takes, listen, these people, you're talking 60 units at the max. You know, why should we have to have another storage facility right in front of Lewis and Clark Marina in Yankton County?
Yeah, but my understanding is that this storage is gonna be way back to the north, to where it's not gonna be right out front.
Do you mind if I show you the picture?
I got it.
Okay.
They're back down to the dam.
Now, another thing that was brought to my attention by somebody else who's in the storage business is that if you guys grant this guy, this man, Mr. Oliver, this variance on moderate density residential zoning, that you are setting a precedent. Out on Lewis and Clark Lake, everything west of Cottonwood Corral is moderate density residential zoned. That means virtually that with that precedent, everybody else that wants to put something there should be able to do it. So if you want a hodgepodge of stuff out there, that's your business. But I personally do not want it.
Thank you.
Well,
Is there anyone else who would like to speak against this project?
Can I just make a clarification?
Yes.
This is for the subdivision, not for the shed at this
Right,
time.
right. It is a subdivision, the plat
That we will hear in the next item.
is the variance for the building. Anyone else want to speak against this project? With no further comment from the audience, I'll return to the Planning Commission for discussion.
I would like to call that.
Yes, sir.
Can I comment?
This is the subdivision part, not the building part.
Okay.
Any questions or comments from Planning Commission?
This doesn't have anything to do with the storage facilities.
No, this is the subdivision itself. And this is actually, we did a preliminary approval of the plat, maybe December. So this is actually just the more detailed part of the subdivision plat. And so I think, we've basically already previously approved the subdivision. And then we're doing the formality to make sure that it was a preliminary, that he was looking up some more information. Now we have the details, so we need to look at, and again, the aspect is the plat of the subdivision. It doesn't have to do in regards to buildings or anything else right now.
If I remember right, turnaround was adequate, road widths were adequate, all of that.
Yes, and it was
All done
basically,
ordinances have been covered already, just.
and with the townhouses off Welcome Drive, it was kind of like a buffer barrier, as a transition, this is a weird piece of property just because of where the zoning is and how it transitions. And that was the discussions that we had in the past on it.
And referring to his discussion there right now, there's your
Right.
lakeside commercial.
Yeah.
This strip here is where the townhouses would go. And so your preliminary plat basically covers just below this dam, down through here, down across here, down to the road, and back over to Welcome Drive.
Right.
And the preliminary plat then makes the individual have to plat out those lots accordingly. And if they change any of this, they'd have to come back in front of the commission.
It seems to me you just got formalized ones
Yes.
instead of scratching.
That's exactly what happened. So we had previously approved the preliminary aspect of it, so this is now the formality of it. Basically, we agreed with the subdivision. Now, we needed the more detail and how the lots were gonna be formally divided out. So I think we've already previously looked at this, but is there any further discussion on planning commission or a motion, one way or the other?
Motion that we approve it.
Second?
I'll second it.
So Zane or Joe, pick. Roll call, Pat?
For approval of the subdivision consideration, Katzinger,
Yes?
Williams,
Yes.
Rudolph,
Yes.
Flemish,
Yes.
Koenig,
Yes.
Keeley,
Yes.
Welch.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, the next part, it relates really to the same property. Curtis Oliver, applicant is requesting a variance of maximum building size requirement to provide tenant storage from 1,200 square feet to 15,000 square feet in a moderate density rural residential district, R2. Said property is legally described as north 123 acres, northeast 1/4, except lots 3, 5, 6, block 1, and except lots 2, 5, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, block 2, law overlook, and except tract A, law overwork subdivision. Section 18, Township 93 North, Range 56 West, hereinafter referred to as Utica Township, County of Yankton, State of South Dakota. The 911 address is to be announced, Welcome Drive, Yankton, South Dakota. Mr. Oliver, if you would tell us about the building and about this part of the project.
Okay, this all started out, it's a whole package deal. And to start a buffer from the commercial zoning and satisfy the residential area and make it functional, we had to do 3 parts of it. I want to do a park model. I want to do an upscale park model. Everybody's familiar with that. I've been here, I looked today over the videos. I've been here over 2 hours explaining what we're going to do in detail. And I gave everybody all our regulations and rules. I've exceeded everything they've asked of me that, to complete this. We started in October. Here we're in February and I'm at a standstill yet. I understand there's a lot to this project. We have the townhouses there and they're built because they're a buffer to the $500,000 houses. I've got $80,000 tiny homes, if that's what you want to label them, but I want them clean. The only way that I can keep them clean is to have a facility where I can put lawnmowers, I can put jet skis, I can put stuff away. So that building in the back, it's not for commercial use, it's for private use only, what's ever in that facility. And it's a gated community. The 10 townhouses, they have their own building. They have their own storage shed that's been approved already. Now, the addition to this back one, 21,000 square foot, it's gonna end up 21,000 square foot. It's a very large building. But I got 72 units and an average storage shed, 10 times 30, 21,000 square foot. Not everybody's gonna have that, but I also need a shop in there. I need some place to store mowers, sprayers, on my facility to a maintenance shop of some sort. I also need an office. This is all incorporated in that building. We had it labeled as, I thought I could dual use it. I could build the homes in the winter, keep my crews busy. Well, I'm not a manufacturing building. I'll go out in the cold and build them. That don't bother me. So we was gonna reapply for this, so let's just call it a storage shed. That's what it is, a storage shed for the park model units. So now I opened a whole nother can of worms, and I got 4 phone calls on Monday. So-and-so is calling me, want everybody there, we don't need no more storage sheds. So I went directly to your house and visited with your wife, explained the whole situation, what we was doing, thought it was taken care of. Left my phone number, any questions, call me. And then I come tonight and I get all this. So it's a vital part of that project. The storage building in the back. I mean, it's large, but it's bumped up against the berm. I mean, it's right up against the stock dam, as you see. It'll go along the length there. My actual footings to the back of the building are dug in the hillside for our drainage ditch. If you go to the left side, you drive on the road, Welcome Drive. If you drive up and keep going, your roof is actually probably 2 foot higher than the road. So it's nothing that some trees that'll berm around that. Bob owns 4 lots on the other side of Welcome Drive. Greg Reichen and Todd Canoto own 42 acres to the left there. Bob owns the stuff to the north. Everything that'll be looking over this building, and I've got no complaints on it. It's not a commercial storage building, and I know I'm asking for an extra variance, but from this corner right here up to the top of this building, it's 120 feet. So if I take that 120 feet, which is 3 times this room, I can build that storage shed in that purple area tomorrow. I can go get a building permit, build a larger building than that, throw some gas pumps on it, he'll give me a permit tomorrow by 10 o'clock. That's the way it is. So I'm asking to build that building 150 foot off of a commercial zone. It should have been commercial, yeah, that's a no-use area. I mean, in the back of a stock dam, nobody's gonna build in the bottom of it. It's got 10 foot of rubble and 4 foot of clay over top of it. So it's gonna settle in some time, a little bit, you know, but you don't wanna build a finished unit in there that's gonna crack up the drywall and stuff like that, so. It's, there's a buffer to the left, there's a road, the buffer to the back, it's flowage water, it's dirty, nobody's gonna build lakeside house around it and have an attractive blue water lake. To the right side, there's actually, when we get to the 150 foot, there's a overflow that's probably 40 foot in width, plus another 40 foot road. And I'm gonna have a tree buffer all the way around. I don't have it. Yeah, on this design here, so we come across the top of the dam, down each side with trees. So, and if you actually get on Highway 50 and you Google map it, lay it down, you see the very top of the road now. So once we build this up 20 foot, nobody's even gonna know that's back there except the people that are up high. So it is a large building, it's not the norm. You know, I know we're battling with a whole bunch of issues in the county, but it's a $10 million project. County's gonna gain $100,000 in tax base a year out of it. You know, that is a vital situation, that building. If I can't get the building, I can't do my commitment to keeping the park clean.
Right now, you have said in your, they're not really covenants, but like rules, whatever they were, that you're gonna do the lawn mowing, the snow removal, and you're gonna be like your own little township board to taking care of all that.
Right. Yeah, county's got nothing to do out there. I mean, I'm gonna be doing the roads and all that. So at 10 million bucks at 1%, that's $100,000. Is what's gonna be the tax base on that, on this project itself. There's nothing, you know, I don't know what else you'd build back there in the back of that stock dam. I'm trying to utilize the space and make it attractive. You know, the only reason I'm building the townhomes, they're a wash for the cost of building them and the cost I gotta sell them for. They're a buffer for the mini homes. So it's a vital part of mine to offer a garage unit, a 10 by 30 garage unit for you to put your four-wheeler in on the weekend and put it in on a lot rent and have that convenience. I think with my rules and regulations, I've inconvenienced them pretty well. I mean, we got some pretty strict rules. And I'm not gonna build the whole facility unless I can keep it clean. And the only way to keep it clean is if I get the building. That's where we're at with it. So the last statement was that building, you know, I took it to the county commission, you guys approved it, and I thank you. And it's been a process, you know, going through this, we worked through it. And we got to the commission meeting and we was one short. You know, I needed that 4-1 vote and we only had 4 people available and 1 was opposed to it. And that was because I don't think there's large buildings should be in that residential area. 120 foot away, I can build it tomorrow. It's just gonna go, somebody didn't take the purple pencil and go around that 2 acres there. Because it's not a residential area. It's already got a 5,000 square foot building on there, that's commercial. He used it for commercial use, all those tools to build all them houses. The gentleman that built it. So it's been a construction site the whole time. I just wanna clean it up. I think having that gated, you know, and our townhouses and our mini homes, it's all a fit. It's a great transition. I'm excited about it. I think it'll be a great asset. You know, there's gonna have to be some give with it though, you know, to make it happen though, on both parts, I guess.
Thank you.
Sir, to clarify, the storage is just gonna be for you, are you gonna rent any storage out to
Absolutely
somebody?
not.
To clarify, so the storage is just going to be for the residents and then for you to have an office and to maintain, you will not be renting it out to somebody that doesn't live there to store their boat in?
Correct.
To be
And that-
perfectly clear, okay.
That's in fact in findings, because we actually said that we would give them 2 stickers. I mean, you get a sticker for your boat and four-wheeler. If it don't have a sticker on it, you don't get it. You ain't gonna bring your cousin's boat in and store it for the weekend, because it just don't belong in there. So now that, you know, the storage unit, it's gonna be right in the lot rent. You know, I'm gonna put you get a 10 by 30, you know, this comes with your lot rent and that's yours up in the facility.
And then
So-
each unit has like 2 car parking spots, right?
I have a 24 by 24 garage, and they got 2 parking spots, no off-street parking, no grass parking, you know, no nothing like that. So we need a facility like that, you know, to keep our project clean. And I think it's, you really gotta take a look at, I can walk 120 foot and I can build that building. You know, it just wasn't zoned behind that stock dam as, you know, it should have been. But it's, if you go up there and look at it, it's not a R2. It's labeled R2, but nobody would build a house underneath that. You know, you look at the piece of property itself. I hope you've all taken a look at it. You know, I'm invested as I am in it. I guess that's all I got. I'd like to answer any questions you got.
Well, what we'll do is we'll ask for people in the audience if they're a proponent for it or an opponent, and then if there's any questions that need clarification.
That was for the.
That was for
subdivision.
the subdivision. This is for the second series of it, so.
Yeah, I'd like to come back and answer them if they got.
If anyone
you know,
has any
rebuttal.
questions, we'll allow you to come up and address them.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak against this project? Yes, sir, come on up, and
Yeah.
name and address and proximity to the project.
Yeah, my name is Bill McMenamy. My address is 31051 435th Avenue. It's less than a mile from there.
Right.
So we got a sign up there, and I don't have a pointer, but
There's a pointer on the mouse.
easy enough. Right there's where that building is. Right there's where the commercial property is. It's out of the commercial zone. Remember what he said? He said Pat had given him a variance. He'd give him a permit for a gas station by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Remember, when you guys do this, if you give this to him, you are setting a precedent. There are 14 other storage units at least in this area that are already doing what this guy is doing.
He has to get on the mic, so we have him on it.
Yeah, we need to address it in the microphone.
Okay, I'll just repeat what I just said. That building is already existing. It is out of the commercial zone that you guys have approved. It is in moderate density, residential, and everything to the west of it is also. The second thing, and this was Mr. Oliver's words, he said that he could get a gas station approved now that that's commercial. So if that's what you guys want, along with all the rest of the other RV parks and 3 trailer courts that are already out there, that's up to you. But remember, you are setting a precedent. Virtually anybody who has property out there should be able to get a variance to do virtually anything after this guy's approved. Remember that.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak against this project? Is there anyone who would like to speak for this project?
Bob Law. It's my property, and this would be a great improvement for the county, and you'd get a lot of tax dollars out of it, and it's the best thing for that area. And he intends not to rent that out to any storage people. There's no competition with nobody else, so I don't see a problem with it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Any questions from the audience that needed to be addressed? Return to the Planning Commission for discussion or motion to proceed.
I think from what's been presented, both for the applicant and in opposition, I see this as a private entity or activity going on. I don't see it as a commercial. I mean, it's a place, you have a little shed in your backyard and you put your lawnmower in there. That's the same thing, it's just bigger. No, I think we ought to approve it. Oh, the gasoline tank or station, that was used as an example. But he's not doing that. His is strictly private. You gotta be a homeowner.
Will there be any living quarters in this building?
In the left side, I talked about a manager being living quarters on the left side.
I thought
In the
not
back
here.
half.
hearing.
Office in the front. If that kills the deal, we'll scratch that, you'll have a tiny one.
Well, because then that would put that into another whole, you have to have septic system for that and the whole shebang there too. And that, if you had living quarters in there,
That's all in, that's all designed
it
already.
is.
Is there water and sewer in that existing building?
Yep.
If there's no further discussion, motion for or against?
I move that we approve the application for a variance, maximum building size to provide park model construction facility and tenant storage from 1,200 to 15,000 square feet in R2.
Is there a second?
I think we've already done it when it was in the draft stage. This is the final.
Can I second it as a chairman? I'll second it. Roll call, Pat? Any further discussion? Roll call,
I guess
Pat.
I'm wondering if there's living quarters in there, what's the difference between?
If he were to do the living quarters, as in, it would follow through and he'd have a park manager in there, the structure becomes a residence. And a residence is a listed use in a moderate density rural residential. We have no building codes that say what kind of structure that has to be. If he were to do that, in which he's asked me a couple of times about that, and I says I would probably have to issue a building permit. It would be a very large, unusual looking house, but it would still be a house. I've asked Mr. Oliver to be fairly transparent about this and that we know what we're doing up there and why we're doing it and that it is mostly for storage for the campground operation. We have talked about going in there and rezoning it. Should we go in there and rezone that corner? Should I go up to the dam and over to there and carve that out and make that be lakeside commercial? To do a rezone on that is a carve-out, which really isn't in the best interest of the county to do that kind of rezone when we do have a very good hardship, I believe, and that is he's sitting there with that dam behind there. It is with his whole park, and he has very, very strong HOA or homeowner association rules that we have very good, how would I say, what am I thinking here? What's the term, help me out, we can enforce it. We have very good enforceability because it's owned by one individual. And if he were to start going rogue on us and start saying it's rented, such as what's been brought forth by the other citizen, we can shut it down because it is part of the conditional use permit of the park. But I do have several structures in Yankton County that have living quarters in them that are built like machine sheds that are allowed in the residential districts because they have living quarters in them. And there's several of them. So Mr. Oliver has said, okay, I'll go through this with you. I will do this. But if I put a living quarters in there, it does become a house. And this whole thing kind of goes away, but I don't think that's not the intent of what we're trying to do here. Does this allow that anyone else out there can do this? I think when you make your motion here that you probably should say we need to make sure that we are connecting it with the CUP that we offered earlier, and we are connecting it with the CUP we offered with those townhouses in which there's not very many people west of this that are going to be able to replicate what this individual's doing. And so we do have very unique circumstances with this permit that allow you to take a good look at this circumstances and say, is this a replicable circumstance? Can they do this elsewhere? And is this a good plan? Does this make sense for this area, for this project? And with that being said, I think that this individual has showed that he has a very unique operation here, that we shouldn't have to rezone it just to carve it out, that we do have a certain conditions there, and we have very strong conditions on the actual conditional use permit that's being allowed for this facility. He has accommodated us in terms of having the berms, having the landscaping, and again, we can put in the motion that that landscaping and that berming will be completed, and as Dan Clemish said earlier, it will not be publicly rental, period, which is also in the HOA, but I think part of your motion needs to have that in there for this. And so therefore, you are showing the exceptions that is allowing you to take a good look at this and see, is this a reasonable exception? And can it be replicated up and down the county?
One of the things I want to add is I think back on this, that as we're going from the commercial part to the moderate density, where that is there a, you know, a concrete wall barrier that is, this is commercial and that's moderate density, and how do you blend across to meet, you know, the Okey Dokey Lane and that subdivision, Welcome Drive and all that? How do you go that theoretically in the commercial side, we could have like a 12-bay car wash sitting right there, and then we had discussion from people previously that said they were okay with a townhouse transition line as long as we didn't have the car wash, the, you know, typical commercial structures.
I think you have to, and again, this is part of, you know, if we were going to plan this out, perhaps we would say, let's push that commercial up a little more north, but really Mr. Law is going to landscape or develop that, so we're just simply carving out that building and then stick that in there. Okay, or can we do this process, having plenty of restrictions with the variance and with the conditional use permit, that if Mr. Oliver does not do those things, he comes back to the commission. And it's that simple. And we have, on the very first meeting, how many folks came in on those other homes? How many folks came in even on the development up above, which we just offered a condition, or which we just did a subdivision for those individuals, in which they just did a multi-lot subdivision in which they're planning on selling very expensive homes on that hillside, and they are okay with this project. And so the immediate landowners over the months have gotten to where we have gotten stronger and stronger and stronger rules and regulations, and I think Mr. Oliver has lived up to his our expectations of him. Is this a storage shed? Is it? Or is it part of that operation? If that were going to be standalone, then we have a very legitimate argument, but it is not a standalone thing. It is part of this major operation.
Mr. Law's property comes down the east side of that stock dam, almost, does it come all the way to the commercial?
Mr. Law's property goes all the way to the line that's running a bit diagonal, just on the west of the stock dam.
Yeah.
And then when we do create the subdivision that we're creating, Mr. Oliver is going to buy what the subdivision shows south of it, which then a big piece of this is that Mr. Law is not going to come down that campground with access. He's going to have to come down the section line. And your section line is that green line.
Yep.
And that's where your subdivision shows that a little bit. So now when Mr. Law comes in with his subdivision, when he's getting ready to sell those lots, he has to do a subdivision, and he'll show where that exit, and it will not be down through the park, which is a big piece of what we've been working on all this time.
He will not have access to that, you know, structure.
No. Nope. Nope.
There's a separate road there, you can kind of see it,
Right.
where it comes in from the east.
Right.
Yep.
So what I'm hearing is that several options here would be a possible rezone, a variance, or simply come back with the building structure of a house, which is skirting the kind of intention anyway. If we do the variance, at least it's under a CUP.
Yes.
Yes.
What I'm-
And also, if we do the variance, we have a little more control over that. We can say, let's do the landscaping. We can say, we're going to give you the variance to do these things. Is Mr. Oliver going to do it anyway? I think 99%,
That's
yes.
what I guess I'm getting at, is he can do it we would not be preventing it by denying this variance.
We just have a different pathway to
We
get
just would have
there.
a different path. and-
But if we do the variance, we have a lot more control
and
over
ensure
him.
That is
Yes.
truly storage. for
Yes.
the-
And, yes, storage by the camp, his berms, his landscaping,
Right.
his access. It's only access from the park, not from the other entity, and we can monitor that.
Do I need to change my motion to exclude commercial use?
Well, I think let's just make sure those conditions are in there. The landscaping conditions, the berm conditions, that it's only for the use of the tenants.
Yeah, the only.
Yep,
That would be all in fact findings, right?
yes. And so the motion, I just want to make sure I can put those in those facts and findings, that's what I want, that's what you're making the motion on, that those
That's right.
stipulations are on there.
We cleared that.
So if we're in agreement with that,
Let's go over those right now.
Right.
To the exclusion of,
okay, so,
I'm amending my motion, okay? Approve the application, accepting from that commercial use,
it only is used by the park tenants only.
okay?
Rental by park tenants only, proper landscaping as is shown on our site plan, which is berms and trees and grass, and access only from the park, not from Welcome Drive.
Did you say non-commercial?
Yes. So it can't be accessed from here, it can only be accessed from here.
So I amend my motion to include those exclusions. Do I hear a second?
Second. Welch.
Okay.
Roll call. We're all the discussion. Roll call, Pat.
Principal,
Yes.
Welch,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Rudolph,
Yes.
Clemish,
Yes.
Koenig,
Yes.
Healy,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, the next item on the agenda is 725 item, Neil Lang. Applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for motel in a lakeside commercial district. Said property is legally described as northeast 1/4, northwest 1/4, except parcel A and except lots H-2 through H-6, except lots 1-5, block 2, lot A1-A, A1-B, A1-C, B and C, block 3, Kaiser Overlook, north 1/2, northeast 1/4, northwest 1/4, section 15, township 93 north, range 56 west, hereinafter referred to as Utica South Township, county of Yankton, state of South Dakota. The 911 address is 827 Hemi Drive, Yankton, South Dakota. Mr. Lang.
Okay, I want to brief you up a little bit on this. This is the site. Okay, this is the campground that we gave a conditional use permit to a while back.
Yes.
This picture was taken in 2017. Now, obviously, it's on its way. You'll see many campers in there now. This is the structure that has some rooms in it, and then there's one room in this structure. And as you can see, Mr. Lang already has a campground rules that are in your packet there. And he'd like to rent some rooms to individuals, and they could be weekly, they could be monthly. And being already an existing campground, we already have proper septic systems. I've talked to Scott Hippel, and he has agreed that these systems are being inspected, and that the septic systems are appropriate for the operations that we're proposing. And so Mr. Lang has a campground with certified septic, and then we have certified septic on this, and then this is an outdoor storage area. So this is in a lakeside commercial district, and so this is a district that is acknowledging this, and Mr. Lang, being an entrepreneur, looks at other opportunities, and so he asked me about this, and I said a motel on that kind of rental, but define your rentals and define your rules, and we'll bring them in front of the board.
Mr. Lang, if you'd come up, tell us your name, address, and about your project.
Leo Lang, 118 Lakeshore Drive, Utica.
And do you have anything to add in regards to what Pat has already said? Is this gonna be a year-round facility?
All the time. Where the rooms are gonna be, well, a couple of them are already. I understood this was, maybe I'm talking too much here by saying this. Understood this was, when I bought the property, commercial and or residential. So when we was building below that, on the east side is office. It's kind of hard to tell because so much more stuff's been done out there. Is the office and a rec room. And the rooms, the 2 rooms of progress, they're the ones that I applied for, with one going all the way across, so there'd be 3 rentals up above if I continue with it. So it'd just be extra income out there. I could sure use it.
So you'd have 3 in the green roof, and then the white roof building, there'd be 1?
There'd be 1, yeah. There, in the other one, actually, there was an apartment in there at one time. In the north side of that.
So then as somebody, what you have is a lot of big campers there, and if they had someone who was coming to visit and go boat with them on the weekend, they could have rent right there from you in the
Right,
same spot.
right. And the way it was last year, there was couples that come up there, without a camper, but their
Boat.
friends and stuff would have campers come up there, and they'd all try to huddle in their one camper, so, yeah.
And I imagine these buildings all meet codes?
Right.
Codes.
Definitely, yep.
Looks like there's kitchens and,
Pardon?
I said there's kitchenettes in them, in each
Yeah,
one of them.
kitchenette, yeah,
Yep,
yep,
with stoves and
yep.
refrigerators.
Rent was nightly, weekly, or monthly? No year lease or anything?
Well, I could go monthly,
What's your intention?
Well, I'll be honest with you guys, I got them, 2 of them rented out, with the understanding of residential and commercial, and the one that she's a student, they're gonna be moving out when she gets done with the student deal.
Well, this would be very similar to DJ's down the road that has, I don't know how many rooms they got right there where they park the campers and boats where they rent them out. So it'd be similar to something like that.
It'd be the same as that, or the hotel at,
Cottonwood.
yeah, Cottonwood there.
Yeah,
It'd be-
yes.
Yeah. I don't know how many rooms in that one, but, is there 8 in that?
4 on top, 4 on the ground.
Okay,
Thank you very much, sir.
thank you, folks.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak against this project? Step forward, name, address, and proximity to the project.
All right, my name's Rick Inhofer, 3306 West 8th Street. My property is adjacent to Neil's. His easement, it's like a foot off of my easement. You can see my house right there, yep.
Okay.
And as you can see, all of his development over the last 3 years have been pretty significant. I'm just going to ask that before you approve his application, that maybe you consider a privacy fence between my place and all his development, because with all the campers and people
You're
coming.
the house just east of the green
Yep,
roof.
yep. And you can see my easement goes right up there. And you see those row of evergreen trees, that's where his easement is. So we're like,
Right.
his motel would probably be, I don't know, 100 foot from my house, maybe 200 foot. Not just a consideration just for my privacy, since all the development has been going on, just for some privacy, That's all I'm asking.
Have you discussed this with?
You know, I haven't. We talked a little bit, I just got his paperwork last week, so, and I just talked to him a little bit ago about finishing that privacy fence that's been put up.
'Cause he might agree to it.
He might, yeah, I don't know. That's just what I'm asking to consider before you approve his application.
How do you access to your, how do you get to your,
I go right up the same driveway he goes up. There's two easements here.
right?
When I go up one, he goes up the other.
Okay.
So all his traffic goes through here and over, and a lot of it goes through over here too. And there's about a quarter of a fence there, but, you know, I like at least run it down so I don't see all his RVs parked there too.
Could you point out on the map,
Yeah.
the area you want to have fenced off?
Would like from here actually, I don't know, maybe down to, I don't see his RV stuff.
That isn't your property.
This is my property
Your
right here.
property line stops with that yellow bottom line.
Yeah, this is my property right here.
And who owns, what's this, a commercial here?
Actually, I think it is, it was residential, now I think it's both residential, commercial.
He could go ahead and put a fence in that, on that property that he owns, couldn't he?
Have any questions?
What I think, the comment was that with that, with you guys right there, either one of you could actually put the fence in.
You wouldn't need to ask us.
Right, I'm just, since he's putting on all the development, it's all the traffic and all the noise and the people coming, I think it'd be his responsibility to put up a privacy fence. Again, just so I have a little bit of privacy over there, and they have privacy, so I don't see all what's going on over there, because it is a pretty busy place. I bought the place years ago for privacy and no neighbors, but that has changed just because of the development.
He's got trees that he's planted on that lot line, it looks like.
No, those trees have been there forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
How tall are they?
Oh, they're huge. They're big evergreen trees. They start, it's pretty clean all the way up to like 6 foot, and then they go out. So you can still see everything that's.
The bottom is what's mostly open.
Bottom's all clean. Yeah.
So that's what you're mostly worried about, is just that, the bottom part. If they're fairly tall,
Yeah, they are. I'm glad they're there. I mean, they block some view for sure.
Is that a resolution to your concern? I mean, you asked for a fence. Would a tree shelter belt, kind of resolve your issue?
Actually, I think that'd probably be a better idea if you can plant some I'd rather have trees there and a fence,
Since you guys share the same property line, could you guys like go out and buy a big coffee or a cold beer and figure out like each?
Well, I'll buy him a beer.
what do you think, Mr. Lang?
I'd like to, can I,
Yeah, go ahead.
me and Rick's talking about, I brought this up.
Yeah, I was a little battle before, but I accepted what's going on in there because I have, it's out of my control right now. Before I fought Harvey, but that was a losing battle for sure.
The
I'll just gonna ask for
The storage unit, go ahead, Rick, excuse me. The storage unit, there's a security fence going to the east, right along, see where the,
There's a highlight, yeah, you press the button, it'll give you a laser button in it.
my old fingers don't do it.
Maybe it's easier just to walk up there and point out.
It might be.
It's that one guy right there,
Oh, there we go.
This one?
right there.
Oh, okay.
Looks like the Chiefs Patriots game.
Oh, I play with the cat with us all the time.
Yeah.
Right there, there's a security fence all around this lot here, for campers and stuff, or for and boats and stuff. Okay, my line goes here, this is my road going up in here. And Rick's got there's trees right along here, all the way along. And Rick's road goes right here on the other side of these trees. Okay, about 3 years ago, I bought the security fence and put it in up to, I don't know what, probably about 20 foot of it to the north, where you bought some panels.
Yeah, they have about 5 panels.
But I put that all in to separate. It goes down to about right Wiggle what? Oh, too many
We're
mice.
not gonna get into who's gonna wiggle what.
Okay, I put a security, I think you kind of see it right there. It separates everything from that garage of Rick's all the way down to within 20 foot of the driveway going into here. And there's security fence right there. And there's a 40-foot gate where I can put across from to a rower gate. I can put across to close that all off. It's connected to this security fence here. Okay, and then if I can carry it a little further, when I had it surveyed here a year or so ago again, this easement of Rick's, my survey stake is about 3-4 foot into the center of the easement road. So I could, well, I really, Rick, with what I did there, and you're expecting me to put some more fence along there, I think that looks pretty good there with those pine trees and stuff. I don't know what else to say, I guess.
Well, thank you, sirs, both for your input. And then, is there anyone else in the audience that wanted to speak against or for this project? No further discussion, I'll return it to the planning commission for discussion.
Is there a chance you guys can work it out?
I think we're good.
I'm not buying any more security fence,
And there's not.
so I have to buy all the security fence if you want a fence there. It's not
Yeah,
causing
can
any
you pull
problem.
up this
The
official?
security fence, is that a wood fence?
Well,
Or are you
part of
siding?
that is wood, and then his security fence is, you can see through it.
Chain
and
link.
Then there's barbed wire on top.
Chain
of
link
it.
type, yeah.
With real distinct, yeah, barbed wire next to my place.
It's 50 to 100 foot past his house. That's all security fence, or, what do you
Yeah.
want? That's
Security
all.
fence.
What I put in covers all of his house and way past his house. It goes clear down to the end of his property, the fence that I put in. Correct, Rick?
Yeah, about yeah, with the wooden and security fence,
But it's
the
good,
wire
it's
fence.
good, it's good fence. I mean, it's 8-foot panels, redwood panels.
But that's like 3/4 of it, so.
Well, I think we're in like negotiation points anyway. I think you guys know each other pretty well, so we can get it figured out, I think.
Well, he already said he's not gonna pay for
Could
it,
do a
so.
continuance of that before, let him come back with the resolution to us next. Are you in a huge hurry to get this
Sir,
done, sir?
one thing,
Or-
the fence he's talking about that he wants me to put in is along the easement, his road easement to get into his place. It isn't even on his property, it's on the easement.
Back to the,
Who's gone to the site? Who's gone to the site? Have any of you checked the site?
I'm familiar with the general.
I've worked with Mr. Lang for quite a while. Mr. Inhofer has been a little disappointed in the fact that even the campground came in the very beginning when we first did the CUP for that. I think Mr. Lang has done a lot of good improvements. I think he's a very clean operation. If Mr. Inhofer doesn't want to see it, the chain link fence, I think, can easily have landscaping done on Mr. Inhofer's side that he can plant the lilacs or the vines or whatever one can have there that, as he even said himself, he wouldn't mind having it being a shelter belt or trees. I think Mr. Lang has worked really hard on quiet hours. I think he has run a park that, from what I have watched over the years, has not had any complaints from anyone that's come in and said that they have been inappropriate or there's been inappropriate behavior there. The tenants that are there have come in voluntarily and been very cooperative in terms of getting building permits for their camping shelters and their porches and those kinds of things. Mr. Lang has always been cooperative in understanding what it is we need to do here. When I heard about how he was working with the rentals, because I knew he does a couple of businesses there, I asked him to come in and let's talk about this. Let's be upfront and talk about this, and that it's operating as a motel, and that would be appropriate. I personally feel that if we want to get into where we want to set up things like shelter belts and ask for screening and that type of thing, I think Mr. Lang has lived up to that. I think he has done what he's supposed to do. The initial piece on there was security, and that he didn't want people coming over into his yard, and he did what he was supposed to do. And he did that. And that's not the issue here, is people trespassing on his property from overflow from the campground. Now we have to screen. I think Mr. Inhofer can cooperate or be able to get bushes, or if he does not want to see the site, that he could do that part of it. The ground is perfectly capable of growing good bushes. So standing up for Mr. Lang, I think he's done everything we've asked him to do over the years. And I know that the initial fence was put in because he was more concerned about trespassing than he was view of sight. And he put up a fence that stopped trespassing. And now we are in a new place here. And if you feel that you want to have this be a screen, then that is your prerogative. But I do want to make it clear that I believe Mr. Lang has done more than would be required under most circumstances in accommodating his neighbors and what they're doing.
What's Mr. Inhofer's zoned?
Excuse me?
What's Mr. Inhofer's property zoned?
They're both commercial, both lakeside commercial. He is grandfathered. And so his residence was there long before the zoning went in place. And so as long as he maintains his residence, he is fine. But again, Mr. Inhofer is in a lakeside commercial district. And Mr. Lang is doing all the requirements necessary to be in a lakeside commercial district and doing all of the processes and the conditional uses, and actually, like we say, we did put up a security fence there, which in the beginning was more about trespassing than it was about view.
That was required, that conditional use was required by this board, the conditional use when he,
Yes,
when he first went?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, and you know, again, we've done the rules, we've done the campground rules, we've done what we're supposed to do. He did a great job with landscaping. He's working hard to try and make this place work. And you know, the very first process we did with Mr. Lang was that was the campground, or excuse me, was the camper storage. And then we said, if you're going to do an outside storage, you have to have a fence around it. You have to have a security fence around it. And so we did. And then that bounces along, and then he comes in and he says, well, I'd like to build that building with the green roof in the back. And we said, okay. And then at that time, Mr. Inhofer was worried about the trespassing, so to speak, or people coming over there, and that is his property. And I feel Mr. Lang lived up to that end of it. And then, of course, the campground came in next. And he got the conditional use permit for that. He did all the appropriate plumbing and water, and he's landscaping too. So I believe that he has been a good cooperative citizen in going through the processes that is required to do this operation. And I think that if Mr. Inhofer wants to block the view, he certainly has that right. But Mr. Lang did live up with the first intention, and that was trespassing.
Yeah, I understand the concerns. I'm just curious the history of, to me, it's late in the game. All this stuff exists, and all we're changing here is an existing building to a rental.
That's
unit.
really the issue.
I'm just curious, yeah, were these, Mr. Inhofer, were these brought up during this progress of the development? No. Buffering and fencing and whatnot.
Actually, it wasn't.
Right.
With that, I think,
Wait a minute,
Mr. Lang,
Maybe, that's a privacy fence that I built along his property. That's all privacy, that ain't security. And that goes to about the end of his property, down to the road he's That is a privacy fence, so that's not a security fence
We
right there.
can, we can see it on the picture.
Oh, okay, I didn't know gentlemen understood that.
Yep.
There's a little bit of both.
No, this really is not pertinent to what we're talking about, but yeah.
It's already existing, we're changing the status of what's already there. Back at the Plan Commission, further discussion or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve this.
Second.
Roll call, Pat?
That you, Carl?
Yep.
Okay, for the four-bedroom motel operation on the Lakeside Commercial from Lang Williams,
Yes.
Kretzinger,
Yes.
Udall,
Yes.
Koenig,
Yes.
Klemish,
Yes.
Healy,
Yes.
Welsh,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, the next item on the agenda is 8 o'clock issue is Robert Law. Applicant is requesting a variance of minimum lot requirement from 20 acres to 4 acres in an agriculture district. Said property is legally described as southeast 1/4, except plus or minus acres in agriculture district. Legal, well, I read the second line, southeast 1/4, except lot H1 and H2, and except tract A, section 31, township 94 north, range 56 west, hereinafter referred to as Utica North Township, county of Yankton, state of South Dakota. The 911 address is to be announced, South Dakota Highway 50, Yankton, South Dakota. Mr. Law, if you come up and tell us about your project?
There's where we're talking, right there I'm circling.
Yep.
Highway 50, and this is Utica Road or 435th, right? Yep.
I've had a lot of interest in somebody wanting to buy this corner, and I have somebody else that's interested in it, and I'd just like to get a variance so I could probably sell it in the future.
For a housing?
Yeah, house,
For a house?
houses.
No family member of yours? You just-
No, no. My daughter lives to the west of it.
Has there ever been a building site on the property before?
On this property here, there used to be an old schoolhouse many years ago.
But no existing homestead there?
No, no.
No relative that's gonna live there? I don't know if we've been in the business of parceling out ag ground for residential, or we'll have people living on every corner.
Not at this time, it'd be no relative.
No, I know.
It could be down the road, though.
Yeah, yeah.
So you want to take it down to 4 acres?
Pardon me?
You want to take it down to 4 acres? So
Correct.
You can sell it?
Correct.
This right here.
Bank requirement? Probably.
Pardon?
Bank requirements, probably.
Yes.
Where would the 4 acres lay, how,
Pretty much where those trees are.
Which side of the house, which side of the lot are you on there?
Yeah, it's gotta be right up there in the north.
Where those trees are, you lost me, Bob.
These trees or
Yes.
these trees?
No,
These
the
trees.
east trees.
Okay. So we're kind of where the pasture ends or where the?
Yeah, well, that used to be pasture is what it was.
Okay.
That's the
you ought
property
to
you
square
want
up that
down
corner.
What?
That's the property up there.
Yes, yes.
Okay, we got a driveway right here.
Right there, and there's one over there, right on the west end. There'd be a joint on that driveway to the west.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty wide.
Okay.
Old one-room schoolhouse?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
That's where moose went.
Could've,
I can't remember what the name of that school was, but I remember the building being there.
thank you, Mr. Law.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak for this project? Is Is there anyone in this audience who'd like to speak against this project? No comment from the audience. Back to the Planning Commission for discussion.
Well, I feel that we can't be going into ag land and parceling out places for building houses. I think it's totally against anything that we've ever done. And shouldn't do.
How many variances for this have we given in the last 5 years?
What's that?
How many variances have we given in the last 5 years? I don't think it's true to
Those
say
have
that
been,
we've
those
never
have been
done
on,
this.
I believe those have been on existing farmhouses, existing building sites.
100%.
If we start carving out little chunks of ground, we'll have people living within every quarter mile.
Well, I get what you're saying, Dave. I guess where I think there may be exception is this is a highly populated area already. It's not a quarter out where there's no housing around. You know, if you look at setback issues of ag, this is, you know, pretty improbable to further impede that. There's a housing development across the road. There's another house half mile to the north, two houses half mile to the north, another house half mile to the north of that.
Okay, can I give you, this gentleman here, Mr. Matheson, he's subdividing this. This is 5 acres, this is low density. They're 5 acres.
Where's your pointer?
Corner's right there. That's the house we're looking at.
That's the area.
Mr. Matheson has been in the office. He'd like to subdivide these down to 2 acres. He can sell them much quicker. But he's in a low-density district, so he's at 5 acres. But he'd like to subdivide those. Mr. Katalik has been in, and he'd like to split that. I will go back to what Zane had talked about, and I'm just giving you history, just telling you what the case is out there. But we have only done farmstead variances for individuals that come back to their family farm and want to live on the farm. And then they say and then they plat out to put a new house on. All the rest of them that we do are existing farmsteads like this one would be. We have, the variances have been existing farmsteads, except for 5 or 6 of them have been individuals that have moved back home and want to live on the farmstead and they work elsewhere. Or some of them work on the farm.
West of here, like I think it's 431st, about where the BY tower is, and that corner is like 10 mailboxes there, right? So there's about 6 houses that got built in that corner in about the last, probably, I think it's 431st, about the last 10 years. There's one of them is a blue one that has a building farther out closer to the road. Then there's another one that's kind of, if that's 431st, I'm thinking of, there's another one right across the corner there. So, and I thought that sometime last summer and fall, there was a discussion, and I don't remember if it went anywhere, there was a discussion that if people were gonna go into this, that they were gonna have to do a subdivision development. I thought, and I don't remember what the outcome of that was, but they, you know, because the zoning ordinance says 20 acres, and it was looking at some of the other recent issues that have happened, I thought we had a discussion that said the 20 acres and they had to do like a subdivision development, not this individual lots.
If they do more than 2 lots at one time, they're in the subdivision business. Now this is 431st. Are we up on Highway 50 or are we down there in that residential district?
There's one right there, in the
Yep.
basically upper right middle, and then there's one down a little bit on 431st. And I think those were
both done prior to the 20-acre rule. These are that old. These 2 are. And so and then if you come out farther, then remember now, this is also where the residential district is out here.
Yeah, where the radio tower is somewhere.
And that is that deep woods, we call it. I'd have to back out more, but, and that is a true setup residential district. There it is right there. And that's Deep Woods, and that got zoned as a moderate density rural residential, and that's off of 341st and 310th Street. And then lots of homes been put in there. Now that was subdivided almost back in, well, prior to the zoning regulations in 2003. We continue to have more and more houses built in those lots over the years. But you are correct. If we go in and do something like this in the Ag District, then we either have to go into a subdivision situation where we rezone it, or, but if we do more than 2 lots at one time, the subdivision ordinance kicks in. So just by background and just trying to say, just, you know, giving you some background on this thing here, it is right on the border of but it is surrounded by low density, and then this is RT, which means rural transitional, and rural transitional is 20 acres again. So just with that being said, let's see now, where am I here? Right up here. There.
Can you go north, Pat? How many houses are right there?
North?
Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of distance?
So the first one would be the Zimmermans. And the Zimmermans, this is the Zimmerman farm, and they are farm producers. The son now lives down here, and then the parents live up here. And they have not.
Is that a newer one there?
This one was done, I think, probably 07, 06, 07. And he did not subdivide. He stuck with the 20 acre. Mr.
The
Becker.
parents that built a new house on that property right there.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's their own land.
Yep, and he left it 20 acres. He did not subdivide. This would be an excellent example of a good place if you're going to do a variance. If his son or one of the kids come back, or this changes an ownership, these people would probably say, can I make this smaller now? But we have an existing farmstead. And it's also by the farm owners. You know, it's one of their children. This one up here is the Becker. And the Beckers live here. They have not subdivided it, but they also moved in on their parents' farm ground. And it's her parents, and they live right up here. And they just built a new home too.
You know, I understand the concern. We just granted a variance for a building because it was just on the other side of a separate zoned area, and it seemed to fit. Now, there wasn't houses across the road, multiple houses across the road, and multiple houses in that area.
Isn't that a house right to the west of that as well, like right next?
Farmstead or something.
If that didn't exist, then
down.
Oh, that's his daughter.
Okay, so there's a house right.
There's a
there
house right
already?
there. Yes, it already exists. Yep.
I think when we look at Article 5, I think one of the things it says in there regarding ag districts is we are to protect agricultural lands and lands consisting of natural growth from incompatible land uses, including residential, commercial, industrial development of these areas. And I think we're required as a committee to vote no on this because of that.
I agree.
Yeah, but this land hasn't been used literally for any ag purposes. It's
Still the best intent.
It's
the best
surrounded.
intent.
It's surrounded by ag property. It's zoned ag. This is ag property today.
But if you look at number 4, under permitted uses, dwelling, single family, it's not saying that agricultural land can't be used for it. That's a permitted use. Agriculture, cemeteries, daycares, dwelling, single families.
It just says it has to be in a 20-acre parcel.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to sell it.
Yeah.
Banks don't like to do that. It's too much money.
Well,
They like
yeah,
5 acres,
but
they like
then
4.
we're making a variance for a building that might exist. It doesn't, there's no proposed building. We're just gonna, all of a sudden start throwing little chunks of ag land out to possible houses? I don't think so.
I guess my point is we give quite a few variances. We gave one tonight. We need to be consistent in our thought process when doing so.
This is a completely different kind of variance though, and you can cross the road to the south and be in residential, and you can get a 5-acre parcel down there if they want a 5-acre parcel down there.
I guess I just hinge on the the intent is to protect and preserve the land that's suited, and I understand that, and I support that. I think the biggest intent when this was written was looking at setbacks, and having a house right next to the house is not going to increase or decrease anybody's setback if they were to put up a barn or put whatever up. It's not going to affect that down the road.
And if you look
It would
at
affect it down the road if there
4
was a pig nursery that was built across the road, and all of a sudden, we'd start talking about setback requirements, and they wouldn't be enough. And so, that's the reason we have to protect agriculturally zoned areas from residential. That's one of the major reasons.
Yeah.
We've been through that for the last 3 years.
I understand that. What I'm saying is there's a house right there. I don't see that increase, causing a big issue down the road, I guess. To say if there wasn't any houses there, then no, I follow the logic.
Bob, is that pasture ground you said right now? And are you currently, you're not running any cattle or anything?
We had a couple horses in there
Yeah.
once in a while.
So it's really not realistic to put 3 or 4 cows out there all summer. It's not worth your time, so you can't really use it as agricultural land. It's not tillable from the topography, is it? It's not tillable, is it? It looks like it
Maybe
has.
it could be,
It
took
could
the
be.
trees out.
Okay.
I just never did it.
You just never did it.
So I want to ask a question that ties into something I read in the newspaper. So we just changed, I think, the animal units, right? Something.
Class F?
Class F.
Well, was it just Class F, or was it that if you had so many animals, you had to have a conditional use to have? You guys.
What do you think changed?
What was
What
that?
we did is started enforcing that animal feeding operations are considered conditional uses and shall comply with the conditional use process.
So if you, on this little corner here, and that was what, 5 acres, 4 acres? 4 acres. So let's say that they wanted to raise sheep. Would they have to have a conditional use permit in the ag district to put sheep on that 4 acres?
For 10 of them, yes.
For 10 of them?
No, why would you need that?
We can go through
I
the
don't see a
definitions.
confinement there.
But it can be an open lot. You're gonna house those sheep when they're lambing in an open lot. You're gonna feed them in the winter in an open lot.
You can feed them. It sustains vegetation during normal growing season.
We can read the definitions if you'd like to. I mean, it's,
I don't
I
exactly
think
know
we're
what
getting
it
off
was
the
because.
subject here. I mean, aren't we dealing with?
Well, I
we
think
wanna
we're
have a
dealing with this
discussion
piece
on
of
this.
property and what the uses are, and it's a ag zone district. And then my question was, like, I thought we talked about subdivisions, but there's only 1 lot in this. If it was 2 lots, then we'd have to go through the subdivision process, right, Pat?
We did 2 or more.
yep. So since we're in an ag district, I'd make a motion that we need to deny this application.
I'll second it.
Roll call, Pat.
Who's my second?
Zane.
Same.
Okay, this is for a motion to deny the minimum lot requirement from 20 acres to 4. Tony?
What's our reasoning?
Yes.
Because it's in an ag district.
We have more discussion?
I just wanted to know why, so Mr. Law knows why this board is doing the motion, and the motion was denying it because
Because it's 4 acres in an ag district when the law says it has to be 20, cut and dry.
I understand it.
Doesn't hurt to ask, though, does it, Bob?
Pardon me?
It doesn't hurt to ask, though.
No. Okay. I thought maybe you guys would have a good day and go through.
Now, we'll see. Okay, so the reasoning is it's 4-acre request on a 20-acre lot, or 20-acre ruling, or
In an ag district.
in that district. Koenig, for denial. This is for denial of the permit.
So a yes means denial. Yes means denial.
Yes.
Yes.
Does everybody understand that? So this is for to deny the permit. Williams,
Yes.
Goodall,
Yes.
Flemish,
no,
Kressinger,
I'm gonna abstain.
you can't.
You mean I can't?
You don't have any reason, you didn't tell us in the beginning.
I think it's taking a property in opposition to due process of law. I think violates the Constitution, to tell you the truth. He can't sell his property because he doesn't have ag on it. What?
What's your vote?
Hmm?
What's your vote?
I guess it's yes.
Healy,
No.
Welsh,
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And the two.
Yea, 2 nay.
So it's denied, right? So, yeah, it's denied.
Correct.
The next thing on the agenda is administrative zoning ordinance discussion. Variance analysis, accessory structures, ag districts, commercial districts, rural transitional district requirements, ag district and commercial district yard requirements, wireless communication facilities, and wind energy systems. It sounds like we're going to school.
Is this for general members, or is this just for us? Is this for everybody?
I think so.
Just for us?
I think it's everybody, because public
Okay,
comments
I
after
want to do a spreadsheet.
I wanted to just try and, I know there's a lot of discussion, but I'd like to just do a spreadsheet so you can see what we've gone through. I don't want to, I'm not going to lead the discussion, but I have a spreadsheet that we put together. We went back to 2009, and we broke down each year in which you have your headings on the top, minimum lot requirement, maximum building, minimum yard requirements, et cetera, all the way across there. Then you have your year, and then a CUP is a conditional use permit, and a variance is a variance. And then we go down through the years. As you can see, we got totals in the bottom there, and minimum lot requirements. We have 126 of them. Maximum building requirements, which is the maximum, it's, in other words, like we did with Mr. Oliver now, we have 35. Minimum yard requirements, we've got 95. Accessory uses as a principal structure, in other words, they've come in and that's called a conditional use permit because they've come in and they said, we're on a residential lot and the primary building must be in a single-family dwelling, but we want to build our accessory structure first, and so can we get a conditional use to allow us to build our accessory structure first? So we have 5 of those. A second accessory, if you take a look at the ordinance, the way it reads right now, we're only allowed 1 accessory structure per lot, and so we have 4 of those. Business, these would be businesses that are being located in areas outside a commercial district, and so they'd be a conditional use permit, and that we have 8 of those.
Is that like Knifel's?
Yes, yep. We have, and I have to, for instance, like, When Coster did his, that did not require a conditional use permit because it was in a commercial district. But I'm trying to think of who we just did here in 2018, but it would be someone setting up a business in a moderate density, rural residential, or residential lots, or rural residential, or CU, or PUDs. So they're setting businesses upside commercial districts. Camping, those are CUPs, and they're all basically have been in the Lakeside Commercial District. Wireless and the wind, and most of ours, I think we have one wind, and that would be a MET, which they call a meteorology tower, that we did for Clipper back in 2009. I think we did it then, or else we did it the year before. But otherwise, that's the only wind tower we've done.
Where's that at?
It's up in Turkey Valley, and it was an outfit called Clipper. And we're going to get one coming up here this summer too, and it's a meteorology tower so they can tell how well the wind's blowing and do their testing. All the rest of these have been cell phones and cell towers. One of them, I believe in 2012 or else 2014, was Yankton Wireless. And Yankton Wireless had got a conditional use permit, and that's the wireless. Temporary construction is when companies come in and when they're doing road construction, and then they have these temporary facilities for blacktop or construction. And for instance, the one we did here recently would have been on Highway 50 when they were redoing 50, and we had two of them. We had one for Rungji, that was over there by the Heine farm, and then we had one further down. So those are called temporary construction plants. Manufactured home, two-family units, multifamily, B&Bs, that would be Kneifel. That would be other entities or you have two families on one lot. And those are conditional uses, and we've done 19 of those. You got 5 signs. We've done hobby farms. Hobby farms are in low-density rural residential, in which they're requesting to have their agriculture animals on those properties. And they're called hobby farms. This is only in residential districts. Hobby farm doesn't exist in an ag district, so this allows some residential districts that have high enough acreage to have a hobby farm. Mostly it's horses. A pool, we've done 5. We have done storage warehouse, that type of thing, we've done 12. And that's a conditional use permit. And a quarry, we've done 8 conditionals. A shooting range, we did 1. The CAFO, we have done 26. The lagoon for manure, we've done 4. And for ethanol plant, we've done 1. So that gives you an idea where our variances have been. On your next sheets, and this is where you can have your discussion, but I tried to break down your various ones. So I broke down your ag lot variances, and this would be in the ag district. And this gives you a chance to take a look at this and see how that breaks down. We tried to show you the variances as they went through. We went clear back to 2005. We showed you the average range of the variances, and we showed you the average acres on the variances. And you have 119. If you had changed your ordinance to 10 acres in an ag district, you would have done 94. If you changed it to 5 acres, you would have done 52. So you can kind of see where your acreage sizes are. So by changing the acreage minimum lot requirement would change the variances considerably.
Can I interrupt you for a minute, Pat?
Yep.
Just 2 questions. One on this Excel sheet, we got 126
Yep.
variances, and on this one we have 119.
You go clear back to 2005 on this one, on this sheet, and I didn't do 2005 on the bigger sheet. So, but we did match the numbers up after we connect on to 2009, the numbers do match up on that, so.
Well, I would expect more going from 2005 to 18. I would expect more than.
Yeah, there's like 7 less. And it goes back all the way to 2005.
Okay, this is just ag. This sheet's just for ag.
Oh, this has, okay.
Other,
I got it.
yep, it has other residentials on there.
So
Yep.
there was
Yep.
19, there was
Yep.
7 that were
Just
in
So,
rural residential.
exactly. So in 2018, we did 11, of which, just doing the math there, 4 of them were in residential districts.
Okay. And then, I was gonna ask you
Carl,
for
shut
this.
that door.
Do you, off the top of your head, have any estimates of total, total farmsteads in the ag district in Yankton County?
No, I don't, but I can get it. I can get it, I can get that from equalization. You're talking about all farmsteads in Yankton County?
Yeah, I'm
Yes?
curious what percentage have a very, is it
Yep.
1% or is it?
Yep.
50%?
I'd like to know how many are under the 20 acres, that if they sell it or.
Oh, that
would
have
need a
not
variance.
gotten
Yeah,
variances?
yeah, how many are 5 acre, how many are
1/6.
not, I guess, non-conforming with the.
Sure.
Like a legal non?
And that's good. And I'll get back to my notepad and we'll make some of those things. I know I can get that from equalization. Then I wanted to break down your minimum yard requirements, and we broke those down to districts. And so again, it gives you a little more detail from there. And we broke those down into districts. Again, we started 2009 on this, and you got your various districts. So it tells you what we did and what's a minimum yard requirement. Remember, that's that 75 foot in an ag district, or 30, 20, 10 in a residential district. Plus, then lakeside and commercial, they have different districts too, or they have different setbacks too. Remember that we got 100 foot in a commercial district? And so you can see that we have, I have those listed, so it gives you some breakdown for that. Then you have seen the maximum accessory structures. But I wanted to put that back in your file there, and then that can match up with what we've got here too, so you have a little bit more breakdown. So with that, I would certainly open up the discussion. We can take a look. I know it's open for discussion, and I'm gonna go and lock that door so that if somebody wants back in, they can get in, so.
Joe, did you want to give the direction that we talked about the last meeting for the accessory structure?
That way they can get in if they want back in. I don't.
Up here, we're locking them out. Okay, it's your discussion. Go ahead. Where do you want to lead it to?
One of the questions I have with looking at Bonham County and down in Bloomfield, the wind farm generations, it seems like way back that we had, and I might be getting mixed up with Yankton City, but that we had addressed something about windmills, wind generation. If we haven't, I think it's something, because obviously with what I do in my job, it's something I'm aware of, like people, when they come in, they gotta be able to go through our switch yard, they're usually tying our switch yard, and so I'm aware of it. But if we haven't looked at it in a long time, I think that we need to, go back like to the county commission that, the direction towards wind generation and wind generators, set up. I think that if we don't have them, haven't been reviewed recently, we probably need to look at it, because I know that we're continuing to grow Bonham and around Avon and, the Bloomfield station. So I think even if there wasn't a development here, I think it would be beneficial economically and everything else to what direction is the wind generation. I think, when we talked about like accessory structures, oh my God, what are variances? But that's something I think we need to look at that is certainly standing out there. And I don't know if anyone's brought it, but I think we should look at that or review where we're at in the wind generator aspect.
I can tell you they are coming. I was contacted again by Orion today. I know that for the next meeting, you're gonna start at 6, which we'll make that announcement here before we leave, but, and so they are coming, and, the last I heard, there's around 8,000 acres that are leased in Mayfield and Turkey Valley Township by Orion, and they're gonna ask for a conditional use permit either in June or July for their MET tower, their meteorological tower. And then following that, they'll come in and they feel that they're probably 24 to 36 months out from construction. In the meantime, they have to start going through the CUP process, the meteorologist process, and then they do PUC, plus they come back here. And so, and I thought that would buy us another year because they have to go to CUP, but the way I learned it is they'll come back here and get CUP out of this while they're doing PUC. So, so we do need to be aware of, I think that's a good suggestion in the context of, if you take a look at decibels, you take a look at fall zones, and what else, Joe, what decibels?
So there's some other
fall zones?
technologies too to look at, but I think, yeah, our fall zones and setbacks there and decibels are out of compliance with
Yes.
even what the PUC has today.
Because we're at 65 and PUC is pushing it clear down to 40,
Can you use your
45.
mic?
They have stated that, and we have to be aware of those of those circumstances and what they're asking for.
Now, in that case, though, PUC would be the ruling authority, correct? I mean, if theirs is more strict than ours, we would
Yes.
have to abide by that, but I agree, I mean, we need to
That is one we should really take a good look at now.
start to look at that. In fact, we started discussing that, back to, I think the variances was, I guess my thought was, we know we have a problem with variances, and those should be, nothing's cut and dry, but we should have some fairly easy direction and maybe start working on one of these, and in the commission meeting, and it stemmed from our discussions here, but, we really want to tackle accessory structures and just set an aggressive schedule and get going, but I think in parallel to that, we do need to, I think everybody on here needs to be familiar with the wind ordinance on the books and start generating ideas and research on if we're up to date or not, and start looking at bringing in some outside resources and speakers to educate us.
Pat, what kind of a window do you think we have before they start trying to build towers? Are we 24 months off, 40?
A year.
A year?
I think that I think they could be knocking on our door. We'd actually have to start applying our ordinances, and I would say in 12 to 18 months. And that we would probably see construction, the way he discussed it with me, in that 18 to 36 month period. These are 500-foot towers, so the big ones.
So those are, for everyone's information, most of the wind towers, like around Tripp and Avon, are under 300 foot. 550 foot is gonna be about a 6 meg unit, and the other ones are 2 megs.
Are they 5 or are they 5
He told me 5. No, but I think your wingspan, I think the tower itself is 5, so you might be, the wingspan is what we'll learn here.
You'll
is
see
that
some of the
cool-
big ones go over on Highway 9 in Iowa, go across.
Yeah, eastern.
So I have been visiting with Brookings County. They're the grandfather in this, and they're sending me some information to watch for, some things to look for. But we are gonna get input. We'll get input from both sides. They would like, the Orion is asking for an appointment, and I will visit with you two guys and see when we can fit them in, because they'd like to come too and visit with us, with their technical people also. So yeah, it's already happening. So we will have to be working on that. If you take a look at accessory structures based on the meeting that we had here last week, accessory structures, which is considered maximum building, is one of the larger numbers. And
And we have found ourselves in many, many situations there, going, what is the purpose of this? And what is that? Most other counties simply say yard setbacks, meet the yard setbacks of your district, and 80% of them have a 35-foot sidewall rule. So for 35 foot, then they want you to come in for a conditional use permit, or a variance, excuse me, a variance. So once you get to 35 foot, you're obviously in a two-story entity.
Is that sidewall or roof?
I'll double check, but
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's sidewall is the easiest to measure, because you
Right.
simply, your roof pitches can just vary so much.
Right.
But I'll double check that, but I'm sure it's sidewall. And then they leave it at that. And then they just say if it's not more than 35 foot and it meets the yard setback, they do two things. One is they don't hold back on how many structures you put in there. So if you want 10 structures and every one of them meet the yard setback and meet the fire code, and they aren't over 35 foot tall, they're not trying to limit that. We do. We limit how many you can put on, which is more than one, and we limit how big they can be. So there's just some food for thought, and I can give you different examples as we move forward from the other counties.
Do you have a listing of homeowners associations or anything, I mean, any, or is that just?
What would be your intent?
Well, you know, I think it's obvious our intent is to review this and possibly make some changes. The only thing I can see is people have relied on this ordinance as a security blanket, and I see pushback. And so I would like to somehow encourage homeowners associations, or even neighborhoods, if they want to form a homeowners association or whatever, and develop their own covenants and give them ample time to do so.
Okay.
That would be the only.
Yes, I can find some. I won't be thorough, because it's not always public
There's not
information.
some, yeah, that's what I was.
It's not a listing, I can't go to Registered Deeds and get it. I would end up working, I know several already, and I can go on the Secretary of State website and try and locate homeowners, Yankton, kind of go through that route, you know. You can do it that way, and then they'll pop up, and maybe I can find some there too. The other issues that we've had is that, it's exactly what you said, Joe, and some of the pushback that I'm seeing is that Oak Hills homeowners gave up theirs back in 2007 because they felt that now zoning's taking care of it. Yes, if we gave them time to rejuvenate them, they could, I think that's where the responsibility should lie on that, if they want them.
Right, yeah, no one would say
We
you have to. Just
legally, we have no tie or authority over the covenants.
Right, and that's how I prefer it. I just feel if we're intending on making changes, that we should at least try to get the word out and say, if this concerns you as a developer, you know, you no longer have this ordinance to rely on, and just you need to make appropriate changes or take appropriate measures.
Sometimes it's not wise to stir the pot.
Well,
But you may create more of a problem than what, and I applaud you for being interested in this, having a desire to delve further, and I just caution you.
well, I expect that, you know, the more people that know about it, the more people will probably be sitting in here during discussions and maybe pushing back, but I guess the way I look at it is if we give ample warning, call it warning, whatever, but ample information and time to prepare, then, you know, we've done what we can do.
And remember, your process alone is first reading Planning Commission, first of all, do the language. Then you publish it with first reading Planning Commission, publish first reading County Commission. It has to be 10 days apart, so I can't come in in 2 weeks. We'd have to be back in that next month. So let's just say we cruised, and we're talking like you had said there, let's say that we have a first reading April 1st. We will not have a final reading till June, the first meeting of June,
and then 20 days after that, it's adopted. So, you know, I hope that in that process, we could all go on there, say some PSAs and some other things, that's not a bad thing, and we can do a PSA that says, you know, public service here, we're working on this ordinance, here's what we're doing. Be aware that, you know, there are opportunities for you to do protection on your own. We wanted, as Carl said, Mr. Rob would cringe if we got out there and says, you know, hey, you go out and fire a lawyer and you do those things, and he would just need to say, you're all crazy, stay out of that business. So we just have to, I think we'll figure out a way to say that, but I think that they need to know it's coming too.
I think if you make it public awareness through announcements or meetings or whatever else, whatever is gonna be done, there's a more public, the awareness is sometimes acceptance, but it's also the ability to allow input. And, you know, in the 15 years I lived in Yankton, when things were really, input wasn't involved in it, then we ended up going down roads that took time and efforts later that we didn't, you know, we could prevent.
Which is, you know, as both Dan and Joe have said, they'd like to schedule special meetings. You know, my largest word of advice on this is that this is very hard work, and we will be, it will be intense, and so let's make sure we have time to think in between those different meetings so that we have time to talk to our citizens, we have time to put some things together so we don't get the impression that we're pushing, where we're just trying to really do the amendments. But with that being said, if we do these 1 hour, 2 hour work sessions, there's a lot we can get accomplished in that time. And so there we don't have these meetings with the, you know, with like we're doing here, or either have it at 6 o'clock, we have a 1 hour work session before our planning commission meetings, and then perhaps set up some kind of a monthly schedule to where we have our work sessions so we can work through these different entities, these different processes. You know, obviously, accessory structures has been stated to be the first one. I don't think swimming pools, as we can see, is not having very many, but it is very low-hanging fruit.
Right, but that might also be one of the ones you can knock out really easy, like,
very
why do we
low-hanging.
care if somebody's got a, you know, swimming pool?
And
Their
so-
insurance agents should care if they have a swimming pool,
Yeah.
but we shouldn't care if they have a swimming pool.
You know, so I think ag district swimming pools probably is pretty low-hanging fruit. Residential swimming pools, we need to be careful. And maybe just say in-ground or that kind of thing, but still be involved a bit on residential so that we're assured we're safe.
But I think there again, if in those moderate residential, they should have a covenant of the, unless it's on private ground, but most of the small housing developments, you have a pool, boy, it's very, very governed.
Yeah.
You've got to have fences around it, or you're gonna have kids falling in there.
And that's kind of what I think.
Ag district, yeah.
I know, and that's where I think we should that's our intent on that, on residential districts is that, and we don't have a lot of them, but I don't, it's an acknowledgement. Are you putting a cover on? What is your cover? What is your fence? Thank you. Very good. But at least we know where they are, and that we have that level of responsibility. But you know, we're transitional or ag for sure. Do we really need to be in that business? So those can be, you know, if you want to, you know, I put on the agenda that you've got your variance analysis in front of you, accessory structure we just talked about. I think we need to discuss, there's no recommendations being here, but the districts that are experiencing the variances on minimum lot requirements are the agriculture district, the commercial district, and the rural transitional district. They're the ones experiencing the issues. They're the ones that are causing the variances. When we talk about yard requirements, it's the agriculture district and the commercial districts that are causing yard requirement variances. And if you take a good look at those are both I think in the agriculture district, I think 75 feet is great when we're putting a bin out there in the pasture. But when we have these lots, or we have these homesteads, and we have 75 foot, and the homesteads are 150 by 200, we're grabbing an awful lot of property on a yard setback, and what is the intent of that when we're out in the country and it's all production ground around them? Why can't we allow that building close to that lot line on those types of lots? That's that thought process there. Taking a look at that. Wireless communication facilities, how deep are we in this? Are we too deep? Are we where we need to be? Are we have 5G coming, and 5G is going to be a whole new revolution in which they're going to put them on rooftops and silos, and are we going to need to be involved with that? Is this low-hanging fruit? No, this is a little more difficult. As I go down the list, it gets a little bit more, and the same with the wind energy systems. These get a little more complex, so I think the conversation definitely on agriculture structures, we could probably have a first reading by April 1st, or the first meeting, our first meeting of April. But if we start talking about it, lot requirements, I think we have a very good discussion in front of us regarding these lot requirements. I think commercial district and rural transition, they're a little easier. Take a look at, what's your yard requirement on commercial? That's Article 10. It's ridiculous how big it is. It's like we're putting them out in industrial. Article 10 is commercial. And it would be like 10, 13.
So while Joe's looking at it, like one of the things I was thinking about, if someone didn't come in and they didn't get their conditional use permit, it's almost like a joke. Hey, I built my building, you know, I'll use an example, a place south of Gayville, right on the river. I built my building, I didn't have a permit, but I'm gonna pay them a $100 fine. That's like, then why would I come get the damn permit? I'll just build the damn building, throw a couple 20s on the table, and I'm good to go. So I think we need to look at that too, you know?
The way that house is built and everything else, I mean, that's obviously, I think we all agree that this needs some update.
Right.
Nobody,
But you know what I mean, it's
nobody
like-
likes
Right.
it as it is,
But-
and we gotta start somewhere, and I think the easiest place, let's shoot for, what did we say, Joe, accessory structure recommendation from this board by the end of
I think
March?
First of April or
I
end
think
of
that's very
March.
reasonable.
And that's gonna require, like Pat said, some extra meetings, and I guess if you and you, Mr. Chapin, wanna get together and get a plan on how we wanna do this, I think a couple work sessions, we should probably get something figured out. I don't think it's gonna, let's do an easy one first.
Yep.
Yep, and so we can, everybody, you know, some of those spots, 800 square foot, 1,200 square foot, they're too small. We all know that for some of those places. So we gotta, this has to keep up with the times.
What'd you find for yard requirements there? How big are they?
2 acres, minimum lot width is 150 feet. So yard requirements is 100 feet. Depth of, front yard of not less than a depth of 100 feet. Rear yard of not less than 50, side yard not less than 25.
So you take somebody like Mr. Coster that is doing a retail operation up there, about a total of 8 acres, holy smokes, we're just, and
Right.
we're gonna set him 100 feet off that road. There's no one that's gonna develop commercial property in Yankton County with those kinds of requirements. And so we might as well just face that and get them, and I think that's another low-hanging one there. Agriculture is gonna be a little more difficult, but that's, you know, but nonetheless, I think that if Moose and I sit down and we come up with some scheduling here, we can definitely start approaching and laying out and make sure that people know we're doing this and get that advertised well, and start working on accessory structures and swimming pools.
If I remember, was some of that due to snow drifting and just visibility?
Sometimes that can be played in there, but mostly I think it was due to the fact that we were thinking more industrial than we were
Sure.
commercial. And we don't, if we want to create, the other thing too now, all the way through your process,
don't be afraid of talking about new districts. We can have multiple districts in an ag district. We can have multiple districts in a commercial district. We can say commercial 1 and commercial 2, and commercial 1 is the big industrial parks. Commercial 2 is the coster type process. We can develop new commercials or new districts. And then we can apply, then we can apply the 100-foot to a commercial 1. But if this guy's gonna be a commercial 2 and we zone it accordingly, we'd have to change the zoning map. But I can't emphasize that enough. Don't be afraid of looking at new districts. We're getting to be more, like Dan just said, we gotta keep up with the times, and there's more and more requests. And so the commercial district down at Highway 52 and Deer Boulevard is as dense and as compact as they possibly can be. I don't think you could put them any closer together. That shouldn't be just a plain old commercial district. That should be like commercial district, high density. And call it 2, or call it 3. And then get rid of these lousy, these incredibly impossible, I mean, even the lot isn't 100-foot wide down there.
Right.
All right, any other thing on your administrative school of civics?
Everybody's here. Can we come up with some, here we are going into this, should we try and do something, it is the 12th of February, should we try and do something later this month? Like a Monday or a Tuesday later this month, and then we have another one at 6 p.m. on March, and then try and do another one later in March that we'd have something finalized so we can do a first reading?
If you did it on Thursday, we could walk next door and have a hamburger at the VFW where we talked about it on Thursday night. You could meet 2 things at one time. Or Joe's Chicken on Wednesday night, I got this figured out.
You got the chow line figured out.
What works for people? Are Monday nights suitable? What works for people? Tuesday nights get tied up. I have Tuesday nights on drainage, I have Tuesday nights on county commission, and I have Tuesday nights on planning. So Tuesday nights are out. Unless you do your 6 o'clock planning one, which I think we'll probably have to pick up.
I think it'd probably plan on.
Okay, so we'll start next time at 6 o'clock.
Normal nights,
Okay.
normal planning and zoning, if
That's suitable?
I think have
Get
some
one of
working
them.
sessions and
As long
some
as
will
we're
have
here anyway.
speakers and what.
Okay, so
What day?
on the next Tuesday planning commission meeting, we'll start at 6.
And that, we will have a speaker next.
Yes. Yep.
At 6 o'clock.
Yep. So what can be our,
Will that be a working session, or?
well, this one will have a speaker, but we're gonna make them working sessions too. That is a working session, Carl, yes.
Yeah.
Whether we have a
Who's
speaker or
speaking?
not.
Who's speaking for that session?
We're gonna have, Greg Hubner, Huber Hubner.
I don't understand.
No, I don't either.
From Avon.
From Avon, he contacted us and requested to come speak.
So when the wind towers, they've contacted you to speak too?
They wanna come in too, they'll get.
They're not coming in the same time?
No.
Okay.
That's next Tuesday, Joe.
At our next scheduled meeting, just at 6 o'clock instead.
What is it,
That's
Dan?
Commission meeting or
March
planning
12th.
and zoning? You're
March
talking-
12th? I think it's March 12th again.
March
It's the
12th.
same one. Okay, so March 12th, you're gonna start at 6 o'clock, and we will have the speaker regarding the wind machine from Avon. Then I think the next, somewhere in there, the gentleman from Oregon wants to get involved, and I will let that we'll figure that out. So, an evening during the month here, what works? Is it a Monday, a Wednesday, or a Thursday?
The week of the 25th of this month,
Yep.
I got township on Wednesday. I don't know, Thursday works for me, I don't know about anybody else.
Thursday at 5 at the VFW.
How about Mondays?
Monday's fine.
They've worked in the past, I'm just throwing it out there. They've
Yeah,
worked
no,
in the
whatever,
past.
Monday or Monday, no, that week, we have township board that's been.
On Mondays?
No, on Wednesday.
Okay, so we'll push Wednesdays out.
Let's go Monday.
Make no difference.
Is that all right?
All right.
So let's start our work sessions Monday, the 25th? Is that the right date?
Yes.
Okay, so, right, Dan? Is the 25th a Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
That's in February, right? now?
Yeah.
Yes, so February 25th, Monday, and would you like to start it at 6? Okay, so we can get through it?
Yeah.
Now, I find that once we go over a couple hours, we're kind of,
Good.
so let's try and be careful there.
I was
An
gonna
hour
say,
is
should we
quite enough.
limit it
Let's
to-
shoot for 2, and if we're
limit for 2?
rolling, we're rolling. Then everybody can determine that we can go for another half hour if it's rolling. Is that all right?
Mm-hmm.
Try and do a 2 hour and see how we do. And then we'll go from there. And then we can schedule one, another Monday, in March. Let's do that after the 25th and see how we do on that day.
So there'll be an agenda with a packet that comes out with some of the data that you're
Yes.
talking about.
And I will have examples of 3 different counties that will show the accessory structures and how their language is written, and also the swimming pools, but there isn't a lot. I'll have some language there for swimming pools too, okay? Because we're working on accessory structures and pools. So I'll just stick with that for now.
Alrighty. Can't figure out my phone, so.
Motion to adjourn.
There's actually one thing left. Is there anyone signed up for public comment?
Yeah.
So under state law, we have an application of public comment. And as a reminder, it's not a vendetta against people. It's not a personal attacks. We had that happen the last time. We shut it off. So if it's something that was not on the agenda, if it's something that wasn't, or it's an issue you want to bring up that needs to be looked at, then we'll address it. If it becomes a personal attack, we'll shut it off and go to the next person. So I'm guessing, Patty, that you have a personal public comment. So state your name, address, and all the good stuff, then we'll be glad to hear what your public comment is.
Patty Gramco. I seem to recall, tell me if I'm wrong, and probably that should be Pat. We were discussing roads, or you guys were discussing roads and access to developments. My question is this: are these developers doing their own roads, or are they pushing it off on the county? Because that was the gist of the discussion I remember. But if I was lost in space, then I was lost.
Do you want me to answer?
Yeah, I would really like an answer, yes.
Can't
All
answer.
public comment, we're not supposed to.
Can't comment.
We're not supposed to.
Can't
I'll
comment.
I'll answer it. I'll answer it but we have, public comment isn't for that time. But all developments that are being done under the current regulations, under subdivision ordinance, are on the developer's responsibility and developer's expense. Not only their responsibility, but their expense.
Magnifique.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that was signed up for public comment?
That's all I have.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? How come there's never any opposition to adjournment?